A row has broken out in a Wiltshire town over a rather controversial road name. Snowflake residents in Westbury are up in arms over two new signs for Slag Lane, which will be reinstalled 5 years after they were mysteriously taken down. The local council had previously rejected the road being renamed Lakeside View, arguing it's named after the slag piles from the town's old ironworks. Well, joining me is the independent councillor for the area, Westbury West, Matthew Dean. Matthew, thank you for joining me this evening. Explain the background to this story and what it was the residents wanted and what the council wanted.
Well, I don't think there's a conflict actually. What the background really has been is that over 100 years ago, the council named this road, which is a predominantly non-residential road, Slag Lane, after the slag heaps that were made when the old ironworks closed. And up till very, very recently, everyone's been happy with that. All it does is denote the area and the history of the area. And then recently, about 2014, some new residents who moved into the area suggested that the road was renamed. And I think the balance of opinion is that most people think things should be kept as they are. Slag, of course, might have some unfortunate connotations for some people, but that's not, of course, the meaning of this particular road, and that's why it was named.
Well, that's right. I was also reading, Matthew, that perhaps, according to some of the newspapers, that perhaps some of the residents thought that their houses would be worth more if the road was changed from what could be interpreted as a rather embarrassing name. Do you buy that?
No, I don't. In fact, it's been put to me exactly the opposite, and that actually, the last thing we want to do is, if you've got a very distinctive name for a piece of land that's been named for over 100 years, the last thing you want to do is to change it round.
I mean, I suppose if we're being kind, I can imagine, you know, if you're a teenage girl living on that road and you have to give your address and you say that you live on Slag Lane, I can imagine that there would be teasing and it might be embarrassing. That I totally get. But rather like you, I still don't think that's a good enough reason to change a historic name.
Well, we seem to live in an incredibly woke, politically correct times, and my view is that that people just need to get a bit of a grip. Really, I think if this is the biggest problem you've got in your life, you're worrying about the road near you that has almost no residential housing on it at all. If you're worried about the name of that road, if that's the biggest problem in your life, then life is good.
Well, rather like you were saying, and I know that the signs have been down for a bit, but sometimes in these places that have comedy names or, you know, embarrassing names or names that can be cropped like Scunthorpe to make something unfortunate out of them, that actually you find that quite a lot of people travel to those areas, particularly in this social media age, to take a silly selfie next to the place name. I wonder if that'll be the same for Slag Lane.
Well, Slag Lane is the main access road to an industrial estate, so I can't see it ever being a sort of destination of choice for people wanting to live on a residential area. But I think it's also something of nothing, really. I did read in the one paper that they thought that the signs had been down to vandalism, and we think actually that the sign that came down was hit by a bus, appropriately enough, and that's how it happened to be removed.
Well, I suppose for some areas, the only thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. So you've ended up on, I don't know if you've seen it, you've ended up on the front page of the Daily Star today, you know, your village. So I guess you've been well and truly put on the map.
Well, we're a great little market town. We've got the biggest white horse in Wiltshire. We're close to Bath and Salisbury, and in many ways we're an unremarkable town. We've got a mix of sort of new and older housing. We've got a large industrial estate on the side of the town. If this means that people are a bit more interested in what goes on in Westbury, then that's also good.
Well, there you've got. I think you've done a very good job of flagging up all the reasons why we should be travelling or even moving to Westbury, whether or not, as you said, Slag Lane is the address that everybody wants. But very appropriately, it's the road towards an industrial estate, and it's named after the industrial slag heaps that came from the ironworks. Councillor, thank you very much for talking to us here on talkTV this afternoon. And congratulations for not giving in to the snowflakes.